Alright, hi everybody. This is our prototype for the game Bouncing to Betty. This is a one-button game. What makes it unique is we're going to have different levels in here, and the mechanic around what the button press does changes. The name Bouncing to Betty just kind of came up. As you can see, at the bottom of the screen here, there's a ball that sits and bounces. That's our main character. He's trying to get to his love, which is a triangle, and named Trixie. So the name Betty just kind of came up because we, Bouncing Betty, and we kind of took it that way. So that's where that name comes from. But as you can see in this game, we've got a little circle character, and he's just bouncing around like crazy. The square characters are actually bad guys, and when they collide, as just happened, it actually will reset the character back to the middle. Give about a 3-second pause to kind of get out of the way. Then we've got the little tubes, which are just our collidable objects, so the character is just not bouncing back and forth and bouncing and back and forth. Another mechanic to this button press in this level, if I press and hold the button, which is spacebar, it puts like on an air brake, so our character will quit moving. Along with that, we've decided to put an energy amount that he can use, so you can't just hold the button down all the time. You have to be very strategic as to how you're doing the button. I'm going to reset it right here. That's for the demo. I'll talk about that screen in a minute. The other thing is that when you run into an enemy, as you can see in the top right corner, there's a score. As you're running through the game and as your character is active, you get points. The entire object of this game is to get your high score, and eventually when there's more levels, it will just be whoever gets the highest score. So that's kind of our goal. In the upper left hand corner, we've got a time limit to kind of give an idea of how much longer you have to make it through this level. And right now within the prototype, the level stays about the same difficulty. Things aren't any faster or slower. And if you've paid enough attention, you can see at least the obstacles or the collidable pipes here are coming down in a very similar pattern. Again, that would be mixed up. This was just to get the prototype down to see what we could do and how we would do it. Some of the other mechanics we would use for the button press would be speeding up, maybe kind of jumping a little bit to kind of get out of the way rather than braking. Another one we thought of as doing like an attack, where enemies within a certain amount would kind of be blasted off the screen, and they'd go off so you'd be protected. But again, that would take maybe your entire bar of energy, so it had to be a little bit more strategic. After the game, and after the time is run out, we come to just a game over screen. You get your score. We're going to collect high scores and print them out, and that's where the game's at right now. Going back to the mechanics that we have left, we want to talk about a phase shift, where your character will kind of phase out and be able to pass through things again, kind of making the game just a little different, and allowing you to pass through objects that you could collide with, both enemy and those pipes. And we thought to make a little things that maybe a little differently is when you do that, some invisible type enemies come into play, and you would have to kind of guess where they're at and make sure they're not going to run into you. And obviously we'd have to run a check from the programming side to make sure that collision was going to happen, make sure that anybody was a certain distance away from our character. And our final one, mechanic that we'd like to use for the button, again, these just weren't implemented just out of time and making sure that we got at least a single level that was mostly working in a prototype situation, was kind of a pogo sticking or a pogo pouncing, where we were thinking of actually taking the entire game and flipping it on its side. So rather than vertical, we're going to go horizontal and use kind of the energy to shoot you, to blast off, and either do that from just bouncing around and jumping to avoid obstacles that may be coming, to possibly even being able to like stick to the ceiling and then back, and then drop to the ground, or kind of a mechanic like that, just to make the game a little differently than just a normal one button would be, and to give you different skills. The reason we have the high scores, a lot of times it's casual games like this, you want something to kind of keep the player coming back. And so that would be one of these, is getting a high score and trying to beat your own points, be better than you have been. Another thing was potentially adding some achievements in where maybe you only use your one button press on a certain level so many times, or you're able to get through without using it any times, or you're able to get through a level without colliding with any enemies or any obstacles, things like that, just to make it so that people will want to have it gives it a replay value, so people want to come back and play it. So there we go. There's the prototype, what we came up with. Thanks.